I've been looking forward to this. So welcome to Kevjet Podcast. I've been so excited to have Jax on the show, and you've just become this digital creator empire. You're taking over the world.
Trying to from my weird little studio here in Toronto. I'm trying to. So thank you.
What was it like to change? Basically, change. It wasn't actually changing careers because you're in front of the camera. I guess now you're in front of the camera more. So that's something new. Your radio before that. And I have to say, shout out to C100, which was my jam.
Always and forever, baby. Yes. I mean, it was strange, but also familiar. You know, I started doing a lot of like more so video content in my radio world in like 2015, 2016. And I was a solo radio host for a long time before I started to do mornings here in Toronto. And in order to kind of stand out or to, you know, make impact with folks beyond the 7 seconds that you had to talk, you know, on a song intro, you kind of had to do it on Instagram or Facebook before, you know, Instagram was around. So I don't know if you remember, like I used to love Vine. I think I was too old for Vine at the time, but I loved Vine. And I loved that, like, you really had to get him in like, you know, 5 seconds, which is essentially like a radio hook, but in video form. And I love doing impactful social media videos, that felt silly and I could kind of be myself in. So transitioning, I always did that in radio, and transitioning into just only doing social media. And, you know, I have a podcast with my old radio host now, my old radio co-host. It feels natural, but it is like, I mean, you know, you're online. It's constantly changing. So to have to adapt to that as I also get older is a exercise of patience and strength.
It is.
Yes.
It is. And
yeah.
do you find it frustrating at times?
Of course. Yeah. I find yeah, social media can be frustrating to navigate, especially because, I mean, it's creativity, right? So it's like, if I don't have an idea, I'm frustrated at myself. If I do have an idea, I'm frustrated at myself for not executing it fast enough. But I've definitely learned a little bit of self-compassion through social media, because it's also literally, it's all on your phone. That's it. There's a whole world in your phone, and you have to be kinder to yourself, because if you take all of that, you know, all of that very seriously, it can get really, really harmful for your mental health. So I've done well at like being like, this is that and this is this. So yeah, I try to stay unfrustrated, but I definitely do get frustrated.
Is there a big difference between Jax at home and Jax on air?
I think, you know, a compliment that I do get often is that I feel kind of similar. I think I'm a little bit darker online, or like more self-deprecating in some ways. And also, like, you know, my East Coast calls, like those are me. Like I talk to all the folks that I call on the East Coast calls, like I'm calling my Aunt Linda, like, who I do call every couple of days, or talking to my mom. So I think that there's definitely an element of like, you do have to mask a bit, but mostly I'm proud to say it's pretty genuine.
Those calls make me feel homesick, I have to tell you. I love them, but they like really make me homesick, because it's so true. And when I listen to them back, and I keep thinking, they are exactly the phone calls anybody would have if you're calling back home.
Yeah, it started, you know, and folks have been like, it's so nice that you call, you know, older people. They're probably so lonely. And I don't like think that they realize I'm also lonely. Like, you're lonely. Like, the East Coast of Canada is such a beautiful and unique and special place. And the older I get, you know, I've been in Toronto for a decade now, and the more homesick I become for it. And there is nothing like the people on the East Coast, and talking to them like that. Like, it makes me homesick. And, you know, when I started doing it, I was longing for home, and I had just come back from a trip from Nova Scotia, and I missed home, and it kind of started as an accident. I like prank calls, but I don't like, you know, when they're at the cost of somebody. So I started it just as kind of a joke. And then I was like, oh shit, this is just like talking to my Aunt Linda, except I have no idea who this woman is. And it cured me a little bit. And I think it, you know, I'm sure they're busy. Maybe they aren't homesick, or maybe they aren't lonely, but, I've gotten a lot of messages from around the world that, even if they're not from the East Coast, it makes people feel connected. And this is a day and age where people don't really feel connected. And I think it's important to kind of foster that. It's a long answer for what you just asked me. Sorry.
It's so true. And I get it, because I was home recently, and shout out to Nancy Regan, who she's just filmed this 2-part TV show about Kevjet.
The Queen.
Exactly. One part, we were in my hometown in Wedgeport in Yarmouth County. And I have never felt so connected to home because I think it took a stranger to sit there and ask you questions that people wouldn't normally ask you when you're at home. And it just brought so much out in like my heart, and I was so connected. I even extended my stay.
Yeah. Last summer, I was home I was hired from Halifax Pride. So I kind of had some jobs to do on the East Coast. So I originally was going to stay a month, and I stayed 6 weeks because like you, I couldn't get enough. And how long have you been gone?
I've been in London for 20 years this year.
Yeah. So like you get it. It's like, well, like you're in London. That's incredible. That's amazing. It's also like you miss home the longer you're gone.
And I mean, someone that I hang out with probably the most is somebody from Nova Scotia who lives in London. It's like you just find each other.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Like when I moved here, it was just all Nova Scotia come from ways. Like we were all just like here, and we didn't really necessarily, some of us kind of knew each other, but most of us didn't really hang in Halifax. But the second we got here, we were all just sticking together. And my friend Jesse, when I first moved here, he said, "Do you have any friends from Ontario?" And I said, "Not many. I have a lot of friends from Nova Scotia in Ontario, though." Yeah.
It's true. It's true. Do you remember the very first time you were on air and what that felt like? Do you remember, how did it feel?
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, when I went to Nova Scotia Community College and I graduated in 2010, and my first real job was in Prince George, British Columbia. So I worked in Northern BC for a rock station. That was fabulous. But like the first time that I remember it like feeling like, my God, like I'm on the radio, in the capacity in which I loved. Cause I really like pop and I like, hot AC. So I was working for, The Bounce, 101.2 The Bounce, which is the old CJCH, which is across the hall from C100. It was, do you remember when like LMFAO's, Party Rock Anthem came out? Yeah. Yep. And it had that like really, really long intro, and I could talk up it, and I felt like a club DJ, and I was talking because I had just moved home to Nova Scotia after my first job, and like I was nervous, but I was like talking on the air over this like really heavy bass, and I felt alive. I felt alive, and it makes me a little teary to think about it. It just felt so cool.
Do you still get that feeling today?
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, I'm like, especially because I'm like the sappier the older I get, the sappier I get. Because I produce and I film and I edit the majority of my content, all of my content, and then the majority of my campaigns. Anytime I'm like creating something, I really nerd out on the tech aspect of it. So whenever I create something, I get excited like that. Like, oh my God, here we go. And I think if the nerdy like love is still there, it's a good sign.
I sometimes when I know there's a conversation that is just like, it's just the top. And it's like, it can be anybody that I've just spoken to. I'll just leave it for a little while. And I'm just sitting there constantly thinking, oh my gosh, I've got magic. And I need to make sure that I capture that's what comes through.
Yeah, it's exciting, right?
It's so exciting. And there's times where I don't even go to bed at night. I just stay up and I'm like editing. And I'm like, before I realize the sun's coming up, and I'm like, well, I might as well just start the day.
Yeah, and I've had partners who are like, oh my God, okay, this is like actually, I can't leave an edit. I know exactly what you mean. And like all of a sudden, I don't know what day it is, but you get locked in and there's something magic in there. And I like that. And that's fun. And that's art in a different form, a weird little form. I like that.
It so is. I didn't expect that in myself. When I started podcasting, it was a little idea that Nancy Regan put me on to, and I agreed to do 5, and I've done 150.
Well, I don't think that comes by accident. I think if you have a special, if you have lightning in a bottle, you got to keep it. So it seems like you not only are very obviously talented at it, but you enjoy it. And I mean, man, like we've seen with podcasting, everyone can get one of these, right? And you see how quickly podcasts will come and go, and everyone can get a podcast, but in order to keep it for 150 episodes, that's wild. So you must, whatever you're working on that you can't sleep about, must be worth it.
It is. I love it. Every conversation, and I think you probably feel the same, is every conversation is like a gift. And I get excited no matter what the conversation, no matter how funny, no matter how heavy, it's a gift because it's just going to go out there. But then I find the other thing is it goes out there and you forget about it sometimes. And then somebody will stop you and say, that episode about, and they tell you what it meant to them, and that you can't even describe what that feels like.
When people connect with you on that level, and like I always say, it's there is no shortage of of options. People can scroll and scroll and scroll. I mean, like you can just keep scrolling. You will never be bored if you scroll, but for somebody to stop, connect, and then say something to you about it, it's like, that's a gift, because time is literal currency, especially online, when people, they don't have to watch your stuff. They have every reason not to. They can just keep scrolling. So if, they're stopping and connecting with you, I find that to be like, that's a true honor, and time is a currency.
Was there ever a moment behind the mic where you thought, like, what was that? Oh, what was the moment where you thought, okay, I've made it? Was it when in BC? Was it in Halifax? Was it in Toronto? Because those are all very different jobs, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh God. I mean, like the anxiety and terror deep within me, from my childhood always thinks that I've never made it. But no, I think when because I went from the bounce over to C100, I got to, like, it was the biggest, like, I got to work for the station that I grew up listening to with, Brad, Peter, and Moya. At the time it was Kelly, Peter, and Moya. Well, before I was on, it was Brad.
I haven't heard those names for years.
Kelly, Peter, and Moya. Right. And I lost it. Like, I used to get to work with Moya Farrell, and I was like, hello, Moya. Like, and Peter Harrison, like, I was terrified of him before, Kev. Like, I was terrified. And because I was like, you are a king. Like, he has this very authoritative, kind of presence, and he's just a honey. He's one of the sweetest men on the planet. And I ended up getting to, like, fill in with him, and he was so patient and so kind and so generous with his knowledge. And I think when I started working on C100, like, that's when I was like, not I've made it, but like, this is working. Like, this is working. And it's like, because there's not a lot of money at the beginning of radio. You work very odd hours. I had to, like, I was taking out loans. I was working a second job on top of doing bounce nights. But I would do anything just to be on the air. And when I was able to go over to C100, and I always say that, it's like anything after like, if I made it to C100, that was my biggest goal, right? Like, anything after that, like, I'm blessed. I'm not, like, I'm a lucky duck. So I'm going to leave on top. And when I left morning radio, I was like, I'm not going to try to keep, doing this just for my ego or for the sake of staying. Like, anything after C100 I was blessing. Like, C100 was incredible. So I think that's when I thought, not I made it, but yeah, like, I'm doing it.
Have you ever lost your cool internally with somebody that you're interviewing? And how do you deal with that?
What an incredible question. Like, lost my cool, been like frustrated?
Yeah, like internally, and you're just like, obviously you can't say what is going on in your mind, but you have to continue the interview. Yeah.
I have, for sure. A lot of my interviews have been solo, which is a little bit harder to manage, especially if you don't have somebody on the other side that's really, being good to you. I've been really lucky, and I've interviewed, a lot of, like, larger celebrities, and most of them, I mean, they have full press teams. They know what they're doing, and they're not going to make it difficult for you, because they also, like, they're on their 6th interview of the day. They don't want, like, they're lovely usually. They're tired. They don't want to make any extra work. I did have one, and I won't say who. I did have one former, very successful rapper who just was kind of rude. And you know what? I get it. Like, these guys have been on, press runs for a long time, but you don't have to treat anyone with, you can treat everyone with kindness. Luckily, at the time, I had another person that I was interviewing with, and we kind of, like, were able to, pivot back and forth. But no, it was frustrating. And I mean, I'm a people pleaser by trade. So if I am getting hypervigilant that, like, you are upset with me. So in order to do that, like, not to do that on camera with, a A-list celebrity and Spiral is hard. But thankfully I had somebody else with me. But I was like, just give me an answer. Like, don't be a dick. Excuse my language.
And this day and age, everything's filmed. So, I mean, people can read your face. And so I find that's one thing that's difficult with me. I'm like, okay, thank God we can edit this.
Yeah, like, fix it and post. It's like, yeah, I need some random B-roll to put over that. Yeah, and that's the good thing is when you have two people interviewing someone, you can pivot back and forth. But, like, I think the edit was saved, but I think you could see me leaving my body in my eyes. I think you could see that maybe.
I know. I mean, there's no way that you can't. I mean, it just happens.
Yeah, I'm not. Go ahead.
I need to ask you about mayonnaise. I hear that's a thing.
Well, I'm so happy that you asked me about mayonnaise. My boyfriend. Yes, I do like I love mayonnaise, and I love the taste of mayonnaise on anything. And what would you like to know further than that?
Well, I just hear that you have you're the biggest fan of mayonnaise, and there was a rumor about something about mayonnaise on the streets of Toronto.
Yeah. You've done your research. Okay. Yes, I've made some videos, some content pieces with mayonnaise on my body in different ways. I've been in a bathing suit with mayonnaise on me. I've been in a bathtub with a bathtub full of mayonnaise. I've danced with mayonnaise. I'm waiting. I would love Hellman's. I would love to do something with you, Hellman's. And I don't know why you want to keep us apart, because we could be so good together. But no, I love mayo, and it's like the most white girl thing ever. But no, I love mayo. Mayo's real. There's one thing that's been consistent through my career is that I usually make videos around mayo. And I'm sorry about that.
Over here in London, obviously the Sunday roast every Sunday is a big meal. It's the tradition here. I have mayo with my roast beef.
Okay, love this for you. And I noticed that whenever I leave North America, I am accepted. You know what I mean? Like for my passion, because whether I was in London last June. Like there's mayo on everything, like mayo on meat. That sounds incredible. Like go to any like Dutch speaking country, like all mayo in Portugal, like everywhere else. And I think that these are all like, I don't know, bougier places. So maybe we're doing it wrong here in North America. I think having mayo with your roast is actually quite elegant.
Roast potatoes and mayo. Amazing.
Like, hell, God, yes. That sounds, I'm like putting my arm up because I sound hungry. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
I love it. Let's talk about your podcast.
Okay.
You have the greatest relationship with your co-host. And so you're very lucky to have that. Where do you see the podcast going?
Wow.
It's successful now. So you must have plans for the future for it. And can you talk about it?
I mean, we can't talk about specifics because there are a couple of really exciting things in the works, but I think that is just, reach, and I guess just overall volume of content is our goal. You know, Adam Wilde, and just to give anyone a little backstory, like when I first moved to Toronto in 2015, he was doing the afternoon show on Kiss 92.5 and I was hired to do middays. We became best friends through that. And then 99.9 Virgin Radio like poached us and put together a morning show with our former co-host TJ. So it was the three of us. Adam and I have been on air together in some capacity for like 11 years. And then when we left Virgin, like doing morning radio, we weren't done. Like he's the platonic love of my life. He's my guy. And I'm sitting in it right now. But what we did is we just built a studio in my house because something that was really important to us was online content. We saw how, and I know how, you know what I mean? Like traditional media has changed over the past few years. And in the past decade, like we were like, we need to prioritize digital content. So when we left radio, that, they were doing their best, but that wasn't the biggest priority to them, rightfully so. Terrestrial was. We wanted to be a digital first show. And so we started putting out these little nuggets of content online just for Instagram, just for TikTok. And then we turned it into a full podcast last March. And so we're celebrating 1 year coming up in the next few weeks. And I think that our, game plan is just to build, maybe having more. I don't know how much I can say because I guess just volume. We want to be in more places and more spaces. We would love to, I will say this because I'm putting this in the universe. We would love to do like a podcast tour. I would love to bring Adam to the East Coast and do like a sit down, like a live show of some sort. Adam actually used to work on the East Coast and who doesn't love Nova Scotia?
Exactly. Right? And that's what I love that idea. And I often think, a podcaster would be amazing because people are doing it over here. And they're selling out arenas. It's
wild. So, and I know, Tracy Martina. Good old Caper girls. Like they're doing a podcast. Like they have their podcast obviously, but they've turned it into a live tour. Like there are folks that are doing it and doing it so well and also really authentically. And I think that that's really important. And I think that's something I'd like to do with Adam. But yeah, for right now, we wanted to make sure that our content like came out of the gates very 4K, very high end looking. I guess is just building up the studio, and continuing to do that. And God bless our producer, Stephanie, because she makes everything happen. So,
also, I have to say the trick, well, it's not a trick. It's just authenticity. just talking about real life story, talking about life and being honest about it. And like no subject is off the table.
And that's the thing is like, we were always encouraged to be ourselves. Absolutely at Virgin. But I mean, you still have bosses. You're still working for Bell Media. You're still, at the Much Music headquarters. There's a certain amount of like, corporateness to that. So we are in my home now. Like Steph is one of our best friends. Like we get to shoot the shit. And Adam has always been like one to like kind of push me out of my shell to just be a little bit more vulnerable. And I think this is a really good way of doing that. And I get to talk about things that I didn't used to get to talk about. So it's been nice. And I mean, very well, you have no choice but to be you when it's just you. That is your brand. So yeah.
Do you ever feel sometimes if people come up to you on the street and they say, oh gosh, I listened to this episode and thank you for talking about this because it meant this to me. Do you ever sometimes think, oh my gosh, I'm a bit embarrassed that I talked about it? Because you forget that it's out there
all the time. It's not usually like that. If somebody brings it up, if I hear a clip or see it back, I'm like, I don't know. A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about, and I was talking about dick pics. And that, like, and I'm, I'm a queer woman and I have traditionally only dated women, but I was talking about how one time I went on a dating app and like switched and then I was like, what am I doing talking about dick pics on but people message me and they're like, oh my God, yes, like that is so true. Like men on the internet, they just send you pictures. And I was like, I don't know when I became the spokesperson for dick pics, but here we are. And so I'm like mortified, but also like, I don't know, life's short. Like it is something that happened and that was bugging me. So why not? Yeah,
exactly. I think the same thing. Sometimes something comes out of my mouth and I'm like, oh no, my mom's going to listen to this.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, but you know what? Again, there are so many options for people to consume. And I think being vulnerable and transparent is the best way. And also, moms can get over things. I hope they can.
She's my biggest critic, by the way.
Okay, that's what moms are for, though. But they'll keep us in line. And hello, shout out to your mom.
Definitely. She's in Dartmouth, by the way. She lives in Dartmouth.
Oh my God, stop. Where in Dartmouth? Sorry. I just got so excited. Where is she in Dartmouth?
Well, she's Cole Harbour. Yeah.
Listen, that's still Dartmouth to me. Cole Harbour.
It is. And my first apartment was in Dartmouth.
Where?
I was in Seacoast Towers downtown.
Down by the bridge.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I know. I went to the Woodside campus for NSCC and I used to live in Mapleview, which was Killam. And then I would always go by Seacoast. Yes, I know where that was. And like you've been back. It is wildly like developed. It looks so good down there.
I know.
It's nuts. It's okay. It's so cool down there. Why did we leave?
It's true. And at the time I was like, oh God, I hate this place. But now when I go back, I'm like, oh my God, it's so cool. And now that my mom's got this place in Cole Harbour and I'm driving past all these places, I'm like, my God, it's so strange.
I used to be not ashamed, but I was like, I would get made fun of if I said I was from Dartmouth. Halifax was okay. Dartmouth was like, ooh. And now people are like, oh my God, Dartmouth is so hip. And I'm like, shut up. You stop that. You used to make fun of me. No, it's beautiful. It's really cool there. It's really grown up and the traffic is out of control.
Yes. My mom always complains and I'm like, I live in London, but I was home a few months ago and I experienced it.
Literally same. My brother was like, oh yeah, traffic here. And I was like, okay, David. Yeah, sure. Like I'm sure traffic is brutal in Dartmouth. And then I went and I was like, oh my God, it is atrocious. It's really, the city has really, really gone up in numbers for sure, especially since the beginning of the pandemic. It's wild. No, we're having the exact same experience.
I know. And as I was doing my research, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, we're kind of like the same person.
We really are. This is kind of cute. I like this.
I have to say, I watched the interview on the Jan Arden podcast, and she was sat in your studio, and it was the season premiere of season 5 for her. And you're the season finale of season 5 for Kevjet.
Okay. And sorry, I keep looking back and forth. For anyone watching this, you're actually on the side and I'm looking at the camera, but like, that makes me feel really warm and honored. I was going to say warm and welcome, but thank you very much. Like I feel like you have a lot of good folks on your podcast. So thank you. That's a huge honor. Or you're like, I got to get this season over with. Let's get her over with. I don't know. Maybe that's the play.
Jan's a good friend of mine. So I can't wait to tell her. I'm going to be like, she's my...
Excuse me, you and Jan are buddies. Oh my, okay, this tracks. You know who feels like they're from the East Coast and they're not from the East Coast is Jan Arden.
She does, actually.
She really does. She's she's a special woman, and that tracks now that you guys are friends. You guys are both very warm. I have to note this. I can tell that you're from home because instead of saying my mom, you said mom. It's like those little things, like when I'm talking to my friends, I'm like, well, mom, like and it's never my mom. It's just you say mom. That's so sweet. Oh my God. Okay. I have so many, outside of this interview, I feel like we need to have a FaceTime or something. I have so many questions for you. Yeah. Oh my God.
I just had the most random thing as well. I need to tell you quickly. When I was doing this TV show with Nancy, I went out for dinner with the Rankins, all of them. And so we're sat at the Bicycle Thief.
Yeah.
It was the wildest thing. So I was running late, as I do, because I had to film something for Nancy's show first. And I walk in and I'm like, there's this huge queue outside. And so I was like, oh God, I'm really going to be late. And because you're just too polite to go and say that you're with people.
Yeah.
And so finally somebody said, have you checked in or whatever? And I was like, oh, well, I'm here with some friends. They might already be here. And you're trying to be quiet because you're in Halifax and everyone knows. And they're like, oh, who are you with?
You can't say Rankin. Oh.
So I was like, so I just said Rankin. And she went, oh, yes, they're waiting for you. Come on through, Kevjet. And took me right in. And it's this big thing. They all stand up and everybody looks. And it was the most, but I was sat there just thinking, my younger self would have shit.
Abso-fucking, that is an all, just the family, just the rag, just having dinner with them. That's wild. Yeah.
I was like, that whole day was just amazing for me. And that was probably my moment where I was like, you know what? I think I'm doing something right. Because then I had to go filmed with Nancy's crew. She wasn't there because it was the wrap up.
Yeah.
And then I went straight to have dinner with the Rankins, which we had several bottles of champagne. And then from there I had to go meet Nancy, and we went, I think it was a Mexican place on Barrington Street. I can't remember. But then I was sat there with Nancy, and everyone comes to the table again, and it's the craziest thing. It was just a wild.
But I love that because what a wild world. When you return home too, you have such deep connections with people from home. Also that you appreciate that. You live in London. That London's cool as fuck. I love London. And to still not have that big city attitude, where you're I'm going home and I'm at dinner with the Rankin. That's crazy. Yeah, I'd lose my mind. I'd be speechless.
Well, the real funny thing was Nancy had spent a week with me here in our house. And I asked her to be my co-host because I do Canada Day, London in Trafalgar Square. Yeah. And so she came over as my co-host and filmed a week with me, episode 1. And then she met me at my house in Wedgeport. And when I opened the door, she looked at me up and down. She's like, is this Nova Scotia, Kevin?
It's just a little bit different. Oh my God. Yeah, the Wedgeport.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is the Wedgeport look. But by the end of the week, I was back to this. And she's like, Kevjet's back.
Yeah. There's my dear friend Casey, God bless her, because I always stay with her whenever I go home, and she's got this little house, and she goes, you can't wear that. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, it's too drama. And I'm like, shit. But nothing too crazy, but there are those adjustments that you be, oh, look at it, fucking London over here, fucking Toronto. They get
you know what?
No, my friend Casey was like, I can't wear a blazer like this. It was kind of a bigger, late 80s, shoulder, kind of like a power. And then she's like, I would wear this in Toronto, absolutely, but I can't wear this in Dartmouth. And I was like, why? There's fashion in Dartmouth, Jesus Christ. But she's like, no, people will be like, okay. And I'm like, there is that thing though. There is that thing. I know what you mean.
It's so true. It's so true. I'm like, oh yeah, I think after this last trip, and I think I've got over that. And somebody said to me, actually it was Rhea, she said to me, she's like, I used to come back to Halifax and I would be, I can't remember, she said something like 12% of myself.
Yeah.
And I totally get it.
It's you kind of turn the volume down on yourself. Yeah. And you dim the light on yourself. And it's why? Why?
That was, it just made sense to me because I was like, oh my God, I've never heard anybody say that, but that's exactly how I would feel driving into the community. It's the wildest feeling. And I think that's gone now with me.
My friend Tyler, he's from Dartmouth and he started working in LA. He's a big videographer now and does a lot of stuff with the Jenners and does a lot of stuff with Travis Scott. He tours with them all over the world. And he's been back and forth for the past decade, but he's each time I came home, it's I just made myself smaller because I didn't want, even though people at home were celebrating me and be like, that is so awesome. It's I didn't want to be too big for my britches, or I didn't want to come off as not seeming humble. But then he realized I am humble. Whether I'm in LA or here, people also are excited. They're not looking to have my volume turned down. So like, why am I turning it down? Yeah. It's like, it's true. It's like, you can be who you are wherever you are. And it's like, just because that's home, you can always be yourself, especially when you're home.
It's true. I was like, well, the one thing about being home is like, you're home. So everybody just treats you as like, I'm Kevin that grew up there and I'm that person. And that's what I love.
I'm Jacqueline. Yeah. I'm Jacqueline.
Yeah. I love it. It's just like, but at the same time, I'm like, I wish you would understand what my life is like in London because it's so different. And sometimes I think that they get the wrong idea as well, which I don't like. I just want people to understand that like I'm doing really cool things and like spreading like amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And my life is wild. Like my husband's a music producer. We have a studio and like there's just the craziest life here. But people sometimes get the wrong impression and they see you out. They see social media, which is not real. It's
not real. And they probably, I have people that assume like, oh, Toronto, that must be like so, it's probably so fancy. And so, and I have a lot of Toronto has been incredible to me, but like, it's hard. Like it is not cheap. It is not easy. There are folks not doing well that you have to, like it's a hard place on your heart and your head. And it's like London, it's like, people see these versions like, oh, it's so glamorous. And it's like, it's incredible and it's fabulous, but it's also not easy, I
appreciate it as well. Like I never walked past Buckingham Palace or Big Ben without stopping. And I've been here for 20 years.
Yes, of course. Sometimes I'm like even in Toronto, oh my God, okay, I actually have a very good friend of mine from Halifax who moved to London 2 years ago. That's who I was seeing when I was there in June, who just had a baby. So what I'm thinking is I need to come back.
You have to. And you know what?
I need to come back and see her. And I need to see, oh my God.
We've got lots of room. So yeah, of course.
I got a new family. Like, how did you meet your husband? How, like I have so many questions. I won't take your time up too much right now, but let's have a FaceTime another time if you want.
No, yeah, of course I do.
Yeah.
We met in Sault Ste. Marie at a lake. We were both other people, like friends. And it was like, we were in like the bush in Northern Ontario. And my girlfriend, she goes, oh, the neighbors at the camp next door are having a party and they have a friend there that's gay.
It's always that. Eh? It's like, I know someone who's gay. You guys should get married.
And we did, but it's crazy. And so I didn't even like him. I was like, I hate the whole idea that you just said that. But I said, let's go to the party. And I remember shaking his hand and I remember like, oh, it's nice to meet you. But like, why do I want to get involved with a rock star from London? Like, that's not the life I want.
Okay, love this for you. That's wild. A Wedgeport guy going to Sault Ste. Marie and then goes to London. That's fabulous. That's fucking cool.
I can't wait to see how Nancy puts this documentary together because it tells the story and it shows the contrast. Yeah, it's going to be really good. I can't wait. It comes out.
I'm so excited. This spring. Well, yeah, when you I want to amp the shit out of I want to watch it first of all. I just selfishly want to see it. But that's cool. And Nancy, just a casual, Nancy Regan. Like that's cool. It's fun. Nancy Regan.
I know, and she was my date at the embassy to all these events that week, and I was like walking in, and everyone's going, "Oh my God, it's Nancy Regan!" But it was really funny because everyone knows me as Kevjet. So as soon as I walk in, they're like Kevjet. So she thought that was cool. We had a really good laugh.
Oh my God. What a small fucking world. Wow. Damn, okay.
I finished the episode with Kevjet's Quickfire. Do you want to hit?
How about her, honey buddy? Yes. Let's hit it. Oh my God. And we have so much more to cover and we will. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Kevjet's Quickfire questions. Radio or podcast?
To do? Podcast.
Live TV or live comment section?
Live TV.
Coffee before talking or chaos?
Coffee. Never chaos. Never chaos before or after talking, I hope.
Scripted or unhinged?
Unhinged. Always.
Most dramatic East Coast word?
Sin. Oh, it's a sin. What a sin. Jeez. Sin. Yeah.
Love that. One accent you cannot do?
Oh. Australian. No, we won't be dying. I got to say it for my chest and I can't. Yeah, okay.
DM you ignore instantly.
Like homophobic comments.
I thought you were going to say dick pic because it would have been great for the comment.
Oh don't. Yeah, dick pics and homophobia. Stay out. Leave me alone.
Guilty pleasure scroll.
My God, I love the tarot card TikTok girlies. Read me my cards. You don't know who I am, and I didn't just stumble upon you, and it wasn't a coincidence. I need something to believe in, and the tarot card girlies, they tell me whatever I need to hear, and I just keep scrolling until I find one that does.
I love them as well.
Right?
One phrase that instantly makes you laugh.
Fuck, I don't know. Okay, wait. Okay, actually, this is very East Coast. She had a jag on. You know, when somebody's like too drug off, she had a fucking jag on last night. Excuse my language. Please bleep that. Jag on last night. You see her? That makes you laugh.
I love that. Have you ever had a guest who's intimidated you?
My God, all the time. Dua Lipa. But she, and I shouldn't say like all the time, but you know, I think I'm in the wrong industry if I'm not. Like, I don't get like super, super nervous that I can't do anything or super starstruck in a weird way, but like, I think you should be excited about who you're interviewing. Intimidated by beauty was Dua Lipa. Absolute. Like, I was like, hello, how are you? And this is like in like 2017. I was like, it's good to meet you. I couldn't even talk. And the worst part is she was even kinder than she was hot. And that's how kind she is. Like, she's so nice. Oh,
I love her.
Yeah.
I love her.
Yeah. My God, obsessed.
What's one word your friends used to describe you?
Soft, probably. Yeah. Soft. Yeah. I think that I'm quite silly, but too apologetic. That's probably another word they'd say, but yeah, soft. I hope so anyways.
One thing traditional media does better than digital.
Whoa. Capitalizes on the moment probably. I think because they have to, but the reactionary time, which could be debated because, you know, you can hop on a phone much quicker, but like in a bigger way, traditional media can still do, you know, in the moment reactionary things really, really well. And I think that goes underrated. Like, live television is still, and especially on the East Coast, like, it is very important, is like integral in community. So I think that's probably what traditional media does better.
If your life was a headline tomorrow, what would it say?
Short woman, big dreams.
One risk you're still scared to take.
One risk. I won't skydive, and I should. But I don't want to, but I know I should. And I'm scared to do it. And I'd love to do it, but I don't want to. I have no business in the sky. None of us do. But I'd like to do it.
I bungee jumped for my 30th.
Oh my God. And like, how was that?
It was hell.
Yeah. It's like, why? Like, am I going to have fun? I don't think so.
And then I had a heart attack on my 40th. So.
Oh my God. What? Okay. Yeah. Like, we're going to keep you safe and sound. I'm gonna put you in a soft little robe for your next birthday.
Wild. I just went past and I was like, oh my gosh, please, nothing happened. I'm always freaked out on my birthday, but nothing happened this year. So we nothing except celebration.
Celebration and getting hotter. Look at you go.
Final question. Finish this sentence. If people really knew me, they'd know.
God. I don't know. Ooh, you are so good at this. Holy shit. Okay. If people really knew me, that's a hard one. Okay. That's what it was. If people really knew me.
If people really knew me, they'd know.
If people really knew me, they'd know that my comfort watch is the movie The Labyrinth, and that I know every single word to the entire soundtrack, and that in my dream world, I look like David Bowie in tights.
This has been a beautiful conversation.